In beating Kansas on Friday night, North Carolina did something they've never done before in the Hubert Davis era. Boy, is it good to be playing from ahead.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Monday, November 10th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network in the world. It's all because of you. Thank you for making us your first listen or watch of the day. And a special shout out to all the everydayers out there, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, as well as our Locked On Tar Heels insiders. What a great community we have. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 to use in bonus bets all across the app. Download it and get started today. Hi, Locked On Tar Heels family. This is Isaac cutting back in later. I recorded this episode earlier on Sunday afternoon, obviously before the Seth Trimble news broke on Sunday evening. And so what I've done is I've left this episode as is. But what we did do is on Sunday evening, if you missed it, I went live on YouTube to unpack what we knew of the Seth Trimble news at the time, ramifications, what it means for the Tar Heels. So for those of you watching on YouTube, if you want to go check out that live episode, I've linked it up here in the corner. Obviously, if you're listening to this recording, you can go find it just right next to this one that you're listening to in the audio feed, because I've put it there as well. I hate this news for Carolina, but just wanted to let you know that we're not going to talk about that in this episode. This episode is all happy, unfortunately. And so anyway, enjoy the rest of it. And again, if you want to hear the Seth reaction, you can go find that from Sunday's live episode. Right back to it. Let's go. Coming up on our Monday show, man, Carolina is playing from ahead now. They're not trying to play catch up all season. I will explain. We've got our Four Corners recap from the Kansas game, including Carolina's brand new front court being wildly efficient so far this season. We'll have our Shady stat of the game where, yes, I will don my son's sunglasses and bring you the Shady stat of the game. Carolina football now on a 2-game winning streak. Thank you, defense. We appreciate you. Weekend whip around. Field hockey keeps on rolling. They are a force to be reckoned with. That's all coming up on the show today. Let's get after it. Biggest takeaway from Carolina's win over Kansas. For once, Carolina is playing from ahead. It feels like every season, just about, of the Hubert Davis era, maybe save 2 seasons ago, Carolina has basically been trying to play catch up all season long. They've been trying to chase wins. They've been trying to chase quad one opportunities and just build a tournament resume. I mean, it's so stressful year after year after year. What you've done by winning this game against Kansas is you've built yourself now some margin. And while there is still pressure on the games to come, there is less pressure on Michigan State and Kentucky and Georgetown and Ohio State. There is now less pressure on those games. Yes, you want to win every single one of them. But now you don't feel like, well, crud, now we got to go win at Rupp Arena. Now it's house money. You go and just do your very best. And you play free and loose, and we'll see what happens. Because now, because you've beat Kansas, let's say you beat Georgetown and Michigan State and Ohio State, but you lose to Kentucky at Kentucky. It's like, would have loved to got that one, but we got that Kansas win in our pocket, and so it's okay. Now, of course, the win at Kentucky, that'd probably be the biggest win of the easily the biggest win of the non-conference slate for Carolina. But isn't it nice? It's a sigh of relief. It's cathartic to actually win early in the season against a high major opponent. Now, of course, you cannot get fat and happy, because the second you feel like you've achieved anything at all, here comes Radford tomorrow night and they give Carolina a close game. Here comes St. Bonaventure's to kick off the Fort Myers tip-off, and you lose that game to the Bonnies, right? So what Carolina has to do is learn how to deal with success. And that can be harder than people might imagine it to be. And do you want to know why Friday night felt so cathartic, aside from like, finally we beat Kansas after 2.5 decades of not beating Kansas, basically? Here's why. This is the first time, what I'm about to tell you is factually correct. This is the first time in the Hubert Davis era that Carolina has beaten the first high major opponent they've played in the season. You might think about that and be like, okay, Isaac, cute, cool. No, I am deadly serious. In the first 4 years of the Hubert Davis era, the first time Carolina has played a Power 5 opponent, meaning Big East, Big 12, Big 10, SEC, they've lost that game. Last year, it was this Kansas team Carolina lost to at Kansas. 2 seasons ago, you might remember that Carolina won their first 2 ranked games that year, but before they did that, they lost to Villanova to kick off the Thanksgiving tournament, 83-81 in overtime. In 2022-23, Carolina lost to Iowa State 70-65 out in Portland at PK 85. In the first year of the Hubert Davis era, Carolina's first Power 5 game was against Purdue. Carolina lost that one by 9, 93-84. This is do you get this? It's the first time in the 5 years of the Hubert Davis era that they've beaten the first Power 5 opponent they've played. And so you might not have even realized why it was as cathartic as it was. But again, finally, Carolina is playing from ahead. And isn't it interesting, by the way, how this time last week, so much of Carolina was literally tabbed. I forget what outlet it was. Maybe it was Field of 68 as the most overrated team in the entire AP Top 25. And this weekend, after beating Kansas, you know what I keep seeing pop up? Are the Tar Heels underrated? Oh, thank you. Welcome to the show. You should have seen it all along because I've been preaching it all summer. As well as, it's not just me. I'm not just out here tooting my own horn. There's a lot of people that have said that. It's so convenient to bag on North Carolina, and now everybody's rushing to trash their receipts so that they don't have to, you know what I'm saying? So what do you all think now? Remember when everyone said, oh, Carolina spent $14 million on this roster and it was not worth it? You still feel that way? Because if North Carolina keeps winning like this, which that's the key, they got to keep it up. But if and when they do, I want to hear you say that it was worth every penny of that $14 million, right? Yes. The classic, the apologies need to be as loud as the critique kind of statement. And here's another reason this win was so cathartic. Last season, Carolina played 9 games against ranked opponents. Do you know how many of them they won? 1. Literally the only game against a ranked opponent Carolina won was UCLA in the CBS Sports Classic. Number 18 UCLA, Carolina won that game by 2 points, I believe. Even that game, the one that they won, they were down by 16 points with 12 minutes and 50 seconds to go in that game and had to have one of their classic comebacks. Thankfully, that was like the one that actually came to fruition. So again, another reason this was so cathartic. You actually beat a ranked opponent. Hooray. Thank goodness. Come on in. The water's fine, right? Like that's where it's at. Now, you might be saying, okay, Isaac, you're talking about playing from ahead. Carolina has gotten out ahead of it. But in this game, Carolina did have to play catch up. Let's not miss that because that is a reality as well. Carolina trailed essentially the entire first half of this Kansas game, minus leading from 6:01 to 5:09 in the first half. So less than a minute they led in the first half. Outside of that, they were either tied or trailing Kansas. And, it felt good at one point. Carolina fought back, took a lead on back-to-back threes from Zayden High and Henri Veesaar to go up 25-22. That was that one lead. But after that, Kansas went on a 13-0 run to go up by 10. And I don't know about you, but I'm sitting there thinking, you have got to be kidding me. This all over again? This is going to be last year again? Because now we're down by double digits in the first half last year. And that was with like 2 minutes to go. So there wasn't much time to make up ground before halftime. Carolina got it to 8, but then you know what happened. It was not deja vu all over again, which is a funny way to put that. I just like to say it that way. Carolina starts the second half on a 29-9 run over the first 8 minutes to turn that 8-point deficit into a 12-point lead. Jayhawks cut it back to a single digit like a little bit after that, But when Carolina pushed the lead back to 10 with like 9.5 to go, they never again let it slip beneath a 10-point lead. That is what this Carolina team needs to be and to do. The problem is it might take a little bit of time because it's a brand new look roster. You might have some games where they look more like the first half Tar Heels on Friday night, and you might have some games where they looked like the juggernaut of the second half that could be Final Four national champions. Like that is the capability of what this team is. The thing that's going to determine how good Carolina is how quickly they can be, because I think rarely this season will Carolina be as bad as they were in the first half or as phenomenal as they were in the second half. That's hard to do in both ways. And so if the reality of the season is more consistently close to the team that we saw in the second half, it is going to be a very special season. And Carolina can do that. They just got to keep going. So it's about finding that cohesion night in and night out. And what's nice about that is it doesn't just have to come from an RJ Davis, as we've kind of felt the last 2 years. It could be Caleb Wilson or Henri Veesaar, both of whom scored 20 points on Friday night. It could be Kyan Evans. It could be Seth Trimble or Luka Bogavac or Jonathan Powell going hot from outside, whatever it is. There's a whole bunch of dudes who can do it on both ends of the floor. And that's why I believe this team's both floor and ceiling is so much higher. It's great to be playing from ahead, and that's where Carolina's at. And a big reason for that is that Caleb Wilson and Henri Veesaar have been the dynamic front court so far that we hoped they would be. I've got stats to back it up for you. That and more coming up in our Four Corners recap in just a second. Right after I tell you about Wayfair, you guys, the holiday season is right around the corner. I'm trying to figure out when I'm going to put my lights up. My family has already figured out the date when we're going to decorate the inside of our house. I love it, and I look forward to it so much. And that means it's time to get your home ready, just like we're trying to do at Shady Acres. That's what we call our house. Whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, maybe a nice fun blanket to help serve what's going on during the holiday season, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here, and it's ready to help you make your space shine and sparkle. The best part, you don't have to wait, because Wayfair's Black Friday deals are happening all month long. You ready for this? With up to 70% off everything from sofas to spatulas and everything in between. I can't believe how fast things ship with Wayfair, and it's going to get to you just in time for the holidays. Don't wait, get it going now. Browsing through their site, it's so easy to find pieces and things that actually fit my family style, and I know the same is going to be true for you too. Nothing generic, just quality designs that feel personal for you and your people. If you ever hosted family for the holidays, you know how much difference just a few new touches can make. Wayfair makes that easy. So again, don't miss out on these early Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. Again, that's wayfair.com, and the sale ends December 7th. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listen of the day, and thank you for making the Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network out there. It's time for our Four Corners recap from the Kansas game. Number one, we got to keep talking about this front court. A while ago, I had done a show. I need to go back and find it and clip it out and see what it was. But over the summer, I did a show talking about Henri Veesaar and Caleb Wilson being the best front court in the ACC. I had a take from our bold prediction show about Caleb Wilson as a potential ACC player of the year. Believe me now, right? Like, those are out there possibilities. That is a real thing. Here, let me just give you some numbers on it for our first thing in our Four Corners recap with the front court efficiency. Here we go. Number one, through 2 games, Caleb Wilson has scored 46 points, shooting 77% from the field, 17 of 22. Henri Veesaar, 34 points, 66.7% from the field. Combined, these two dudes have scored 80 points while shooting 72% from the field, 31 of 43 from the field. And a lot of the reason it's so highly efficient is because they have a combined 17 dunks through 2 games. And it's not like you're playing, some podunk school. Like, one of those games is Kansas. Caleb Wilson, 11 dunks, Henri Veesaar, 6. Caleb drew 10 fouls against Kansas. And it's this is not just these two front court players, but Carolina against Kansas, 48-20 points in the paint. The front court for Carolina and the whole team's ability to get into the paint and succeed has looked great. Got to keep it up. And oh, by the way, because it ain't just in the paint, the bigs can step out and hit threes. Both Caleb Wilson and Henri Veesaar have already done so. I cannot wait to see what these guys do all season long. Number 2 in our Four Corners recap, Seth Trimble's defense. Bill Self said after the game, quote, Seth Trimble blanketed Darryn Peterson in a way that, to me, was terrific. And I think there are a lot of box score lookers. I know because they've come back at me this weekend, have looked at the box score and said, Darryn Peterson scored 22 points in this game. He shot 8 of 14 from the field. That's over 50% for a guard. And you say, what are you talking about, Isaac? Darryn Peterson had a phenomenal game. It doesn't look like Seth did all that much to me. Well, here's what you got to recognize. If you just look at the box score, sure, you might think that. But Darryn Peterson is the kind of guy that on any given night could get 30, 35 points. And what Seth Trimble did was make it so difficult for Peterson to succeed. Maybe one, maybe 2 of those was not highly contested. Peterson's just a great shot maker. Like, let's not mince words there. I've said all weekend that Caleb outplayed Darryn Peterson, and a big part of the reason for that, A, Caleb has more talent around him. Yeah, don't miss that. But 2, Kansas does not have a dog defensively like a Seth Trimble. Seth made business so difficult for Darryn Peterson. His coach said it, and Bill Self does not say what he doesn't mean. He's not just out here throwing accolades. He means that. And so Seth's ability to make it hard on Darryn limited him to 22 points, which is saying something, and I think speaks to just how good DP is. And don't forget on the other side of the ball that Seth did that and also contributed 17 points, a team-high 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and just 1 turnover. So to ask him to do all of that defensively against a guy that's probably the number 1 pick in the draft next year, probably the Big 12 player of the year, if not him, then AJ DeBanza, who also Caleb Wilson outplayed, by the way, in the exhibition game. Like, Carolina has had to go up against 2 of the very best in all of college basketball already. There's the thing. So Seth Trimble, just please do not miss, I beg of you, in his last year, how critically important he is to this team. Number 3 in the Four Corners recap, Carolina's scrappiness and toughness is going to go a long way this season. It's one thing to be talented. It's another thing to be wine and cheese, which Carolina is so often accused of. I do believe that this team, similar to 2 years ago when they were a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament and won the ACC regular season, has an edge to them. And I think it starts with the fact that Caleb Wilson, their superstar, is willing to get on the floor and secure 2 loose balls in the first half of this game. That's part of what kept it as close as it was, as Carolina struggled offensively. You saw part of Seth's defense on Darryn was getting up into him and being physical with him. The key for Carolina is going to be figuring out how to bring that level of intensity night in and night out. Not just because it's easy to do it when it's Kansas. It's hard to do it this week when it's Radford and NC Central. Can Carolina show up and be tough-nosed night in and night out? That toughness, so far on the glass, that's one of the questions. How will Carolina rebound? They got to get better from last year, because it ain't just about the size. It's about rebounding out of space. It's about hunting the ball. It's about stopping your guy from getting it, right? Well, Carolina out-rebounded Central Arkansas by 20. All right, that's fine. You should. But out-rebounded Kansas by 12. I needed to see Henri Veesaar's toughness and strength against another big-time big. And we saw that. He got the better of Flory Badunga. Flory got a respectable, was it 9 points, 8 rebounds, or was it flipped? 8 and 9, something like that. And that's fine. But Henri outplayed him. Henri Veesaar was a bigger factor in that game Friday night than was Flory Badunga. And that is going to matter, his ability to do that. And by the way, part of this is as you start thinking ahead, did you watch the Arkansas-Michigan State game on Saturday night? That game was not for the faint of heart, man. If you wanted to matter in that game, you had to be willing to just go in and hunt the ball and guard whatever it was. And if Carolina is not ready to do that, Michigan State is going to take them to task on Thanksgiving Day, and we're all going to be crying into our turkey and pumpkin pie. I don't want to be crying into my turkey and pumpkin pie, so I need those dudes to be just dudes, right? That's what we're looking for. And part of this is that the chemistry looks great. Again, when your superstar is willing to get out and do it, the entire team is going to follow suit. When Seth Trimble, your leader and your captain, is willing to do anything necessary, everyone else is going to fall in line. That's what we got to keep watching. Fourth and finally, in our Four Corners recap, Friday night was an example of how completely critical Kyan Evans is going to be to North Carolina's season-long success. In this Charles Dickensian tale of two halves game, a massive part of it was Carolina's ability, or lack thereof, in half court offense. In the first half, Kyan Evans played 15 minutes, 0 points, 0 of 4 from the field, all of which were 3-point attempts, 1 rebound, no assists, 2 turnovers, 0 steals, and was -6. Then in the second half, Kyan Evans played 17 minutes, had 12 points, was 5 of 7 from the field, 2 of 3 from beyond the arc, 1 rebound, 3 assists, 0 turnovers, and 2 steals. And you see the difference in those two halves. In the first half of this basketball game, North Carolina was outscored 37-29. In the second half of this basketball game, Carolina not only outscored Kansas by 21, but scored 58 points. And a lot of that was because Kyan Evans settled in, found his way, and led this team. That's what we need to see game in and game out. And it can't be just him, though, right? While I say Kyan Evans is critical to success, that's also going to be about Derek Dixon really settling in. Great opportunity for this week, next week as well, for Derek Dixon to really get some critical minutes at point guard and settle in. As Luka gets more comfortable, he's going to have to be able to be a great playmaker too, because one of the things about Kyan Evans, like in that starting lineup, he's going to need Seth Trimble to find him out on the wing. He's going to need Luka once he eventually gets into the starting lineup to be able to find him outside, because Kyan Evans' 3-point shooting is a weapon team. So Kyan Evans, that's the fourth thing in the Four Corners recap, is critical to Carolina's success. Man, I love the Four Corners recap. I love giving an ode to Coach Smith, which, by the way, just showed how neat the matchup of these two schools was, that the Dean Smith family gave his letter jacket back to Kansas, right? Like, I don't know about you. I always want to beat Kansas, but man, I have so much respect for the Jayhawks, the Kansas program, Bill Self, the way they do it. Like, it's just two historical programs, man. And I love to see success for both of them. All right. We still got to get to our Shady stat of the game. We got to get to touching on Carolina football and our weekend whip around, all coming up to wrap the show in just a second. Right after I tell you guys about FanDuel, y'all, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game, maybe you're trying to ride a hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who's going to score next to fourth quarter comebacks and more. Plus, what you could do is take all those and combine them into a same-game parlay for a shot at an even bigger payout at the end of the day. What I love is that doing stuff like this keeps every game exciting. You can be locked in and have something riding on it. So maybe your team's making that late push and you're riding the wave of it. I love it. Here's a couple odds for you. Caleb Wilson, plus 3,000 in FanDuel's National Player of the Year odds. Maybe you think he's that dude. Go get it. Carolina still fourth in the ACC regular season odds at plus 1,000. Maybe you feel different than you did Friday morning. Check that out. Heading to next weekend's football game, Carolina 5.5-point underdogs at Wake Forest. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So go ahead, move on over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. You guys, it's time for the Shady stat of the game from the Kansas game. Let's get these bad boys on. These are my son's Dude Perfect sunglasses. He got them for Christmas, or he got them for his birthday. I feel like a complete tool wearing them. I look silly and obnoxious, but that's why we're here, is to have a good time, right? Yes, here we go. Shady stat of the game from the Kansas game. I thought the most critically important thing, I mentioned Kyan Evans, and a big part of it was Carolina's turnovers and the points off them for the opponent. In the first half, the Tar Heels committed 10 turnovers, and it felt like more. Probably part of the reason for that is because Kansas scored 17 points off of those 10 turnovers. They were very efficient turning those 10 turnovers into points. Meanwhile, in that same half, Kansas committed 6 turnovers, and Carolina was only able to score 2 points off of it. But the second half, this is where it flipped. Carolina took care of the basketball, had just 1 turnover, and that came well into the second half. And Kansas was efficient off of that 1 turnover, scoring 2 points, but that was it. Meanwhile, Kansas had 8 turnovers, and Carolina scored 12 points off of those. So in the first half, Kansas led Carolina points off turnovers 17-2. And in the second half, Carolina went from 10 turnovers to 1 and only allowed Kansas 2 more points. That was part of a critical turnaround in the second half. It's amazing what happens when you hang on to the basketball. Carolina has all these guys that can take care of it, that can make wise and smart passes. This team, one of the things that's impressed me early on is their ability and their willingness to move the basketball and not let it stick and dribble late shot clock 3. Got to keep that going. Hang on and take care of the basketball. Excited to see how that moves going forward. There you go, Shady stat of the game. Let's move to football. We had a nice breakdown of that on our live postcast from the football game. Carolina beats and hangs on for the win against Stanford 20-15 in that one. Second straight win for Carolina. And obviously it felt, we said deja vu all over again earlier in the show. Well, it was deja vu here as well. Felt very similar to the Syracuse game on Halloween night. Carolina's defense, stalwart. Offense struggled in the first half and found their way in the second. In the second half of this game, Carolina was able to really get going, scored on the first drive, had another touchdown and a field goal. Whereas in the first half, literally their only points was a field goal that came benefit of a defensive turnover because Carolina then didn't move the ball. And so that's the thing for me. What I want to continue to do with this team is hope against hope that the offense will start to find some level of 60-minute consistency. In the meantime, thank goodness this defense has just gotten on fire in this game against Stanford. 9 sacks, a fumble recovery, 2 fumbles forced, and an interception by Kamori House. And Melkar Abujade, this guy, 3rd in the nation now in sacks. It's crazy. Leads the ACC with 10. And you think about the turnaround that the defense has had. Remember, in their first 3 games against high major opponents, so that would be TCU, UCF, and then the embarrassment to Clemson, Carolina gave up 48, 34, and 38 points. And if those teams wanted to make it worse, they could have. In the 4 games since, Carolina has surrendered 21 points, 17 points, and that was even in overtime, so it was really 10 in regulation, 10 to Syracuse, and 15 to Stanford. That and it's not like the offense has suddenly been hanging onto the ball forever, and so it's made the defense look better. No, the defense has been showing up, and they found something. And again, let me continue to remind us that's without Price Yates on the line, and it's without Thad Dixon on the outside in the secondary. Great stuff. Just want to see the defense continue to do that. And look, I don't know if the offense will ever really get going, but if the D continues to give up 20 or less points, it's going to give Carolina a chance in each of these final 3 games against Wake, Duke, and State. And if they can do that in 2 of those games, as a reminder, it's going to secure them one final game this season. And what a benefit that would be heading into the first full off season of the Bill Belichick era. Let's wrap up well, and that starts Saturday at Wake, 4:30 Eastern, again on CW, just like last week. Let's get to our weekend whip around, walk through some of what's going on in Carolina athletics. No better place to start than with field hockey. You guys, these ladies are killing it. For the 9th straight season, they have won the ACC Tournament Championship. After knocking off Louisville and number 8 in the nation Duke on Tuesday and Thursday in the quarters and semifinals, they beat number 4 in the nation Virginia 4-1 in the ACC Tournament Championship. Crazy, crazy stuff. As you are listening to or watching this, the selection show for the NCAA tournament will have already happened, but it was at 10 p.m. on Sunday night. And I was trying to get to bed. And so as I record this, I don't know, obviously, you know by now, but obviously Carolina is going to be number one in the nation. They already were, and then they win their conference championship. So there's that tournament, though. The NCAA tournament starts on Friday, so we will get you ready for that later in the week. Women's soccer, obviously, again, as a reminder, didn't make the ACC tournament. And so they're waiting on the NCAA selection show, which is today, Monday at 4 Eastern on the NCAA's website, if you want to check that out. Men's soccer is literally playing as we record in the ACC quarterfinals at number 1 seed Virginia. Let's update it in real time. Obviously, again, you already know what happened. We are into the second half. It was tied 1-1 at halftime. So hopefully the fellas can pull it out. Regardless, they should get a slot in the NCAA tournament, and that selection is still a couple days away. I think like a week or so away. Volleyball, man, we talked about it on Friday. They've been in this crazy stretch where they played 4 straight matches against top 10 opponents. Unfortunately, they went 1-3 in those matches, most recently losing at number 5 Stanford on Friday. They had been very competitive in each of the first 3. And this one, unfortunately, they go out to Cali and just get blitzed 3-0. And so this was really the first one of that stretch of 4 straight top 10 opponents that they weren't competitive in. But still, man, kudos to that. And what I love, again, in real time, the ladies are rebounding because at Stanford Friday, at Cal on Sunday, as I record this. And right now, the ladies dominated Cal in the first set 25-9. Eked out the second set 25-22, and right now, as we record, are up 16-9 in the third. So looking like it's going to be a skunk here against the Bears, and then Carolina, I almost said California, can head on back home, having gone 1-1 out on the West Coast, and you live for that and feel good about it. As a reminder, women's basketball is off till Thursday when they play UCLA in Vegas. Should be a lot of fun. In that one, hopefully been some time to get some healing for Renaya Kelly, for Blanca. Great stuff there. Cross country is off, and I think they're back in action this weekend at regionals. Swimming and diving was at South Carolina on Friday. The men won, the women lost. Great stuff there for the guys. Back to the drawing board for the ladies. Wrestling had their first dual opponent match on Sunday afternoon against the other UNC, Northern Colorado. Shutout. Carolina wins 40-0. Way to go, dudes. Fencing was up in Columbus, Ohio over the weekend, facing number 7 Penn and number 10, Penn is 7th, both men and women's, and then Ohio State as well, 6th in the women's, 5th on the men's side. Carolina beat Ohio State, both men and women, but fell to Penn, both men and women. So a nice split of the weekend. Always good to beat the hosts and upset them. Good stuff there. All right, any more updates? 17-9 now in volleyball. Again, Carolina looking like they're going to close that out. Still 1-1 in the soccer match. We're in minute 50, so 40 to go. Excited to see if the guys can get that one and upset the number 1 overall seed. All right, you guys. Great to be back together on a Monday. Thank you for being here with us. Tomorrow, we will get ready for Tuesday night's Radford game. Excited to get right back to it. A good chance to just keep putting wins together, keep stacking days for the fellas there. If you've not subscribed to the show on video and audio, do it right now so you don't miss a second of the show. If you've not joined Locked On Tar Heels Discord, we'd love to see you in there. It's a great way to stay connected with a great community of Tar Heel fans. Links in the show notes, free to join. And if you want to go next level with the show, all sorts of perks, come join the Locked On Tar Heels Insiders. That link is also in the show notes. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. It was a great weekend to be a Tar Heel. My goodness, lots of wins, conference championships, great stuff there. We'll be back with you again tomorrow, but until then, peace.